also moving on to another yarn on the front of the Oz tomorrow. Super funds dump Russian assets. The Morrison government has taken financial sanctions against Russia to a new level, saying it now expects Australian superannuation funds to divest any holdings of Russian assets. In a joint statement, Josh Frydenberg and Financial Services Minister Senator Jane Hume said they welcomed the voluntary action already taken by some funds to sell their Russian assets. Caro, to the layperson, what does this mean?
Well, to the layperson...
To me, me, that's me.
Yeah. Well, see, most people know absolutely nothing about their super funds.
They don't, no.
And they get a statement once a year.
Yep.
Sometimes it goes up and sometimes it goes down. And while there will be super funds that will have Russian assets, look, I obviously don't know what everyone out there is doing, but I wouldn't say that they're a substantial part of any one super fund. So bailing out of those assets, you know, their market has copped it this week because there's been some pretty serious sanctions. There will be... there might be some losses taken. The other thing is you don't necessarily know when those funds bought into that market. So
totally.
Look, they might take a bit of a haircut. They might take a lot of a haircut. We don't know. When you consider that in the wash of what is actually in those funds, when you look at it next to the Australian market, the US market, which is still high, at this point, I don't necessarily think that there is going to be a real visible picture for the average person looking at their statement going, oh dear, we bailed out of Russia and I've lost X amount out of my super fund. I don't think that that's probably going to be so visible.
Totally, but I think the wider issue that I took from this story is the fact that it's really interesting to see the government be so forthright when it comes to ESG, because it's such a big topic that's going to be consuming the financial markets moving forward.
Well, it is a big topic, but then it raises the question, well, what about other countries which abuse human rights? What about the Chinese, you know, putting Uyghurs into concentration camps? Don't you think that that falls squarely within ESG? Yeah. And we're not taking a position on that. And China are not the only country. There are others. We don't generally try and not necessarily force, but you know, expect.
Yes.
Which is, I thought was an interesting choice of words, quite frankly. We don't necessarily expect our super funds to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Why is it just Russia? And if we're really serious about ESG, why isn't it more broadly?
Yeah. Indeed. Also on the front of the Australian tomorrow, budget boost as Australia fills the energy gap. International demand for Australian energy could result in a doubling of thermal coal export earnings and a huge spike in LNG sales, potentially adding billions of dollars to the budget bottom line as the Ukrainian conflict sends commodity prices soaring. This just in from 1985. It's crazy, Caro.
Well, it is and it isn't. Yeah. Because this always happens when there is a conflict. And
in an energy-rich country.
In an energy-rich country. So we've seen Brent crude oil go up to $115 US a barrel. Gold has gone up.
Great to be in the coal market at this point.
Correct, but we just happen to be this massive exporter of coal. It still shows that there is demand for those commodities, and when the proverbial hits the fan, that's what people want. People aren't running out. I don't see the price of, wind turbines going through the roof, solar panels going through the roof. People want the tried and tested stuff when everything goes to pot.
It is interesting. And I think Resources Minister Keith Pitt should probably take from this, like we do say, the wind turbines are not going through but the critical minerals needed to build those wind turbines
correct.
could be a lucrative market moving forward.